The Daily Mail. 15 of my friends in their 40s and 50s have left their husbands. This is the real reason everyone is divorcing, and why your marriage is at risk without you realizing it. Really, is it going to be something like women can help their husbands become financial masters over 20 or 30 years of marriage and then leave them and take half of their stuff, or even more than half their stuff, and get a payout for the rest of their lives? Is it going to be that reason? Why? Is that why? Oh, or maybe it's they're still getting attention from younger, attractive men, or maybe even older, attractive men, and they want to, cut bait while they're still young enough that they can get some action. Maybe their husband isn't able to satisfy them in the bedroom. Women out there, if your husband is not able to satisfy you in the bedroom, let him know, please. Don't think that his ego is going to be bruised. If he's not cutting the mustard, be like, look, this is what I need. I'm not getting it. Can we work on this? If he really loves you, he would be willing to step up and do it. I don't think it's going to be any of those reasons. Maybe it's the he's not cutting it in the bedroom reason that the women are leaving and hoping that they can find somebody who will give them what they need before they get too old. And if that is the case, I can understand where you're coming from. Let's get into this article. But before we do, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed. That does help me out quite a bit. My channel, as you know, it does not grow. It's a tiny little channel. It's been a tiny little channel the whole time I've had it. So if we could get those numbers to be 10 or 20 times what they are now, that would be freaking awesome. Anyway, the article starts out with, on Monday, a friend told me almost in passing that she was leaving her miserable marriage. I didn't know there was anything especially miserable about it. Although I'd always thought she was way more fun, interesting, and smart than her, frankly, quite boring husband. Usually it's the other way around, but of course she's going to think that the girl is more interesting than the boy, because the girl shares interests with her. When was the last time, you sat down with your male friend, ladies, and spoke about makeup, or where you're going to get your hair done, or, what's your favorite little outfit? Probably haven't ever done that. Having been stuck with him for several hours at a friend's wedding, I'd often wonder since how she put up with him. But who knows? He probably felt the same about me. Yeah, why were you stuck with him at that wedding? I don't know. But maybe he's actually quite charming, but he doesn't want to mess up his marriage with you or with any other woman. He attracted a woman somehow. How? Is it because he has money? Oh, that would make sense, because then she can leave him and get money. I couldn't say I saw it coming then, but I honestly wasn't surprised. After all, she's not the first to announce imminent divorce. She's not even the second or third. She is in fact about the 15th woman I know in their mid-40s to late 50s who has turned around in the past few years and said, is this it, really? For the next 30-odd years? No thanks. Yeah, well, what's the alternative? You really think that the alternative is better? I remember a woman I went on a date with. We only went on one date, and she was in her mid-30s, and we went back to her place. I wasn't planning on doing anything, and nothing happened really. But yeah, she lived in a studio apartment with a dog. It's like, this is what you have now. What do you think is going to be waiting for you at 50 and you're alone? Do you think it's going to be something much better if you don't have a man in your life who makes a decent living, at least makes a living wage? Because, living in a studio with a dog does not sound like a good time to me. How do you think it's going to be at 50? That's just what it comes down to. Do you think you're going to find, another hot 50-year-old guy who's going to be like, yeah, come live with me? The hot 50-year-old guy can get a girl who's in her mid-30s. And if he's Leonardo DiCaprio, who's going to be 50 this year, he's got a hot 23-year-old or something like that, right? So I don't know what you ladies think you're going to be trading in for, because the alternative is not better, trust me. Having somebody there to hug you at the end of a long day is better than being alone, or just being with your girlfriends. Let's be clear. These are not, on the whole, women in so-called bad marriages, although I'm inclined to think that bad is in the eye of the person who has to lie next to it in the bed every night. So there's bored marriages then? I've been with this guy for 30 years, for 20 years, whatever. I'm done. I want to move on to what? That's the thing. What are you moving on to? They are not, on the whole, having affairs, and they have not, again, on the whole, been cheated on. They are not all suddenly freed up by the kids leaving home, even. Well, you don't know if they've been cheated on. I'm guessing that they probably have been. If they're looking at ditching this marriage, sure, the guy probably has had the same thoughts. in many of these cases and been like, I'm just going to go find somebody who's going to give me what I need. And hopefully that'll be my backup plan. And you don't know if your girlfriends are sharing with you whether or not they've had an affair. If I were to have an affair, there are certain friends I would not tell because they have connection to my wife. I mean, all my friends know my wife. They've met her, but some have her phone number because we've been that chummy that we've all exchanged numbers. They have just tired of the daily grind of acting the wife. As my aforementioned friend put it, which even in 2024 seems to entail far too much slaving away on behalf of others and not nearly enough appreciation for it. Well, again, this comes down to communication. Have you gone to your husband and been like, hey, I feel not so appreciated. I mean, I do a lot of stuff around here and I just feel like you could be more appreciative, or maybe we could work out a different system for how we're going to handle the daily labor in our relationship. I give things to my wife. I do things for my wife here domestically. She does things for both of us. Right now, there's nothing that she's doing for me precisely. Everything that she does is for us. But in the past, there were things that she would just do for me, just because it's me. And I mean, she will, like, if she's at the store, she'll like pick up something for me, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not like, oh, you're not doing things for me that help our lives function on a daily basis. You're doing things for us. Okay, I'm not, and I am doing things for you, like that help our lives function specifically for you instead of for us, and that's okay. I don't mind. That's it's give and take. There's always sorts of compromise in relationships. That's how it is. The first of my friends to leave her husband turned out to be the advance guard. She and her partner had been together for more than 20 years, had 4 children, and despite them both being in full-time work for most of those 2 decades, she had divided herself between the professional and the domestic. Okay, so what was her job and what was his job? Was his job more demanding? Was his job the one that was higher paying? And why did you do that? Was it necessary for you to both work and be the domestic laborer in your relationship? Whose choice was that to get into this situation? It's not like you put a gun to your head. You might be tired of doing this and then therefore want to get out of it. Okay, but why? Again, communicate. Set your relationship up differently. Things change over time. Like I said, my wife used to do things specifically for me and only for me that she thought would make my life better on a daily basis. Things change in relationships. It's up to you to go to the person who you're with and go, look, this is what I need, this is what I want. If they're not willing to comply, then that might lead to a separation. But you have to negotiate that for yourself. Okay, so where were we? Which meant everything else, a social life, an inner life, her health, friendships, everything went by the board. Again, she made that decision. She didn't communicate with her partner. It's not his fault. If you're tired of this, then, get a different situation for yourself. But don't just up and throw everything away. See, the women can do that now. Women can get out of this relationship and be like, well, look, I have a job. She has a full-time job. She can support herself. Okay. So they can do that. If they've been together for 20 years, more than 20 years, let's say it's 21 years only. We'll be very conservative about this. And they met at 19, then she's 40, and she might be a very attractive 40. There are some very attractive 40-year-old women out there. And so she's getting attention from men wherever it is she's going. So she's thinking, yeah, maybe I can just move to another man. Like so many heterosexual women in traditional marriages, even if you think it's not going to be traditional, when you start out, that you're different, that you will never put up with that patriarchal nonsense. The effort was almost all hers. Well, more than 90% at least. And whose fault is that? Why did her husband not want to contribute to their lives in a way that is more equal? And not only that, this is your friend that you're hearing her side of the story. And she, of course, is going to be, oh, it's patriarchy. Your friend is going to be that way. You're obviously that way. You think that it's that way. So these are a bunch of women. These are a bunch of feminists who think that, oh, everything is a burden. No matter what. If it's not 100%, they don't have to do anything. What they want to do, then it's patriarchy. If she wasn't doing this domestic chore or that family errand, she was arranging for someone else to do it. If a ball dropped, no one else would pick it up. I find that hard to believe. I mean, again, we don't know what her husband does for a living. Maybe he's working an 80-hour week. We don't know. My friend's partner, charming, funny, a good dad, definitely one of the good guys, carried on looking after his job while she looked after her job and 5 other people's lives. So whose fault is that? Doubtless, he absolutely would have collected the children from school if one of them got sick, but he was at work. it didn't occur to either of them that so was she. Well, again, so you're putting the blame on her in this case. Why is it that she is like, oh, I can just take care of everybody? It's fine. Is this the mantle that she chose to take on? I am the domestic goddess. I can do it all. I can even have a job and take care of all the family. It's fine. I can do it. Rah. Well, you're going to get burnt out. Be realistic about this. If you have children, that's a two-person job. That's why you wait until you're married to have children. This is not a new concept. It's been around for thousands of years. Unfortunately, we've decided in the last 55 years that this is not the way that things should be done. So stupid. There's nothing stand out about this story, just as there's nothing stand out about his shock when told she wanted a divorce, nor about the familial recriminations directed at her for giving up on their marriage so easily. Although, interestingly, none came from the children who were like, well, yeah, of course. Okay. I mean, I don't know the situation. We don't have enough details here. If that's the case, then yeah, maybe. I'm not saying this is not impossible. Obviously, it could be that, yeah, she was overburdened and he was a jerk about it. That can very well happen. But more likely than not, it's the woman just complaining about nothing. Nor was there anything unusual about the assumption that she must have found someone else, because why else would she leave? Why would anyone pull the plug if they didn't have another bed to jump straight into? For the record, she hadn't. This is a relatively new thing. In part, it's about economics and women earning their own money, like I said earlier. Albeit often not a lot of it. It's about privilege. Many people who would love to leave relationships ranging from lackluster to downright terrifying simply can't afford to. Okay, well, if you can't, I mean, why are you in that situation? Because are you going to go after a guy who earns so little money that if you divorce him, you're not going to get enough alimony to survive on? That doesn't make any sense, but what do I know? And it's about social mores. It's about women waking up one morning or slowly over the course of years coming to and realizing they have had enough. I know, man, that boring old D that guy's been giving you for the last 15 years, the same D every night for the last 15 years. In fact, that probably stopped 5 years ago, and you haven't gotten any in 5 years. So you're looking at other guys at the gym who are giving you a little winky face, and you're thinking, oh, maybe I could get with him. Oh, maybe I could get with this other guy. Maybe I could get with this other girl even. You never know. You don't have to look very far back, or even at all, to stumble on the old trope of the man who gets successful in his chosen field and dumps his first wife, the one he's often been with since school or college, who he's had children with, who has invariably subverted her wishes for a younger, glitzier model more befitting his new high-flying status. Now, that does happen, but there are these women here who are doing the same thing, is what it sounds like. So it was good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're saying it's all right for these women to leave these men because they feel burnt out, well, then why can't the man leave his woman if he feels burnt out? Doesn't make sense to me, but I'm not a feminazi, so what do I know? Recently, I was speaking to author Emily Howes about her latest novel, Mrs. Dickens, which takes as its inspiration Charles Dickens' much overlooked first wife, Kate, the woman who bore their 10 children and then found herself shamed for letting herself go. Okay, well, I mean, that does sound pretty rough. I don't know when Charles Dickens was around. I don't know how easy it was to come across barrier protection. The only other options were not doing it in other parts of the body, or pulling out. And I guess it sounds like Charlie here was not about not doing it, so you have to figure out something there. Chances are you don't know anything about Kate other than that the celebrated author dumped her because it was a time-honored rite of passage. Almost first wife dies, ages, gets boring, loses her looks, all of the above, man moves on. Okay, so women are doing it now, and it's okay for them? You're saying this is bad that he did this. So this is what women are doing. It's okay for them, though. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not saying that never happens anymore. Of course it does all the time. I don't know about that. But it feels like there's a sea change happening, and a lot of men, not all men, obviously, don't like it. They like things the way they were. Yes, men prefer the things the way they were over the way things are now. There were a lot of drawbacks to the way things were in the 60s, in the 50s, in the 40s. There were. I'm not going to deny that. But overall, it was better. I think relationally, relationships were better than they are now. And many relationships ended in divorce even then. So it's not as if this didn't happen. It's not as if people didn't have their differences and go their separate ways. They did. But it was much less common. Now it's just like, okay, marriage is just a throwaway relationship, just like dating, only a little bit more financially intertwined. Because the truth is, heterosexual marriage works better for men than for women. No, it doesn't. I don't know where you're getting that from. There's absolutely no reason to think that it works better for men than it does for women. When I was writing my book, The Shift, I came across a 2019 study in which researchers asked 3 sets of married couples, heterosexual, gay, and lesbian, to keep daily diaries recording their experiences of marital strain and distress. Women in different sex marriages reported the highest levels of psychological distress. Really? Men in the same sex marriages reported the lowest. Oh, okay. Men married to women and women married to women were in the middle, recording similar levels of anguish. Okay. So according to this, it's not heterosexual marriage that works better for men. It's homosexual marriage that works better for men. It's almost as if the women are the ones causing the problems here. It says right here, in case you missed this, it says right here, heterosexual marriage works better for men than for women. Then down here it says, men in same-sex marriages reported the lowest amount of marital stress. What does that tell you? It tells you, and then on top of that, it says women married to women were in the middle, and women in different sex marriages reported the highest levels of marital distress. Huh. So it's women saying that, hey, I'm unhappy in every situation that I'm in. Whereas men are saying, hey, when I'm gay, it's kind of the easiest way to be. What do you know? I don't know what to tell you. It seems like a weird correlation to me that you're missing, author. What's striking, the study lead author, Michael Garcia, pointed out is that earlier research had concluded that women in general were likely to report the most relationship distress, but it turns out that's only women married to men. No? I mean, yeah, that's the most is women married to men, but the second most is women married to women is what it looks like. Women, again, not all women, do the bulk of the labor. They make most of the effort. Then I canvassed the 50 women aged approximately 40 to 60 who had volunteered to be my focus group for the book. Okay, there's only 50 women? That's a very narrow sample. Of those in long-term relationships, substantially more than 50% were either dissatisfied or had recently left. Even some of those who said they weren't especially dissatisfied expressed disquiet when they thought about the future. I will never forget Stephanie, then 49, who had been with her husband since their late teens and was in despair at their diverging levels of ambition. Okay. Doesn't say anything about what that is, though. Maybe it does in the next paragraph here. Let's see. Bless him for wanting a simple life. Sex, 2 bottles of wine, kung pao prawns, and golf most days. Stopping off for 3 pints on the way home. But that's his dream life, not mine, she said. What is your dream life? Yeah, it sounds like he's got it pretty good. I don't care about the wine, the prawns, or the golf, or the pints. I don't care about any of that. There's one thing on the list that I care about quite a lot. If you're giving me that to the extent that I need it, then we probably aren't going to have any issues. I'm bored of it. I constantly wonder, is this it? Yes, this is probably it. The notion that he is earning enough that makes him happy and he keeps you alive. Do you want more money? Then you go earn more money. Is there something keeping you from earning more money? From earning your own money? Again, this article doesn't say it, so it was salutary. I barely needed 2 hands to count the women who, like me, were in a long-term relationship and happy with the balance of labor, power, and responsibility. Even fewer if you only counted the women whose partners were the opposite sex. In the case of the women I know, I'm pretty sure that perimenopause has also come into play in some shape or form. You think it's just maybe a bigger part of this than you're alluding to? I don't know. In the case of women I know, let's see, the departure of those monthly tidal waves of estrogen, generously called the nurturing hormone, but I prefer to think of as the doormat hormone, causes them to look up and wonder what they've been doing and being and putting up with all these years. Well, I mean, calling it the doormat hormone, that's, again, this hyperbole, this negative hyperbole. If you're with a person who's treating you like a slave, like a servant, don't let them do that if you don't want that. I don't know what to, I mean, these women act like they have it so bad. I don't understand. how this is so terrible for them. Look, everybody has to work. Typically, like the typical person has to work in some capacity. If you're so put upon to do so much work and you can't handle it and you feel underappreciated, or like this is not the life for you, then do something about it. Yes, leaving is one option. But do you think maybe talking to your partner and being like, look, I'm not happy like this. I think that I want things different. And how long is it going to be before you want things even more different? You know, because women are fickle. Women are emotional. Women are flighty. They change their minds, all that stuff. And perhaps conclude that they're not doing and being and putting up with it anymore. That's midlife women. But what about the rest? Because it's not just women in their 40s and 50s who are taking a look at heterosexual marriage and finding it wanting. It's women of all ages. I have much older friends who joke that if when they die, their husband will probably remarry in the time it takes to get someone else to change the sheets. But if when their husband dies, of course, they'll miss him, but they certainly won't be rushing to replace him. Yeah, you say that now, but wait till you need something done that you can't do. They might get a friend for sex and fun and weekends away on the side, but marriage? More dinners, more socks, more snoring, more sky sports. Not on your life. More dinners. So women don't eat dinners? What the hell? I've made my wife dinners plenty of nights. Women don't wear socks? I'm sorry, what are you talking about? More snoring. Women don't snore. Oh, it's a new one to me. More Sky Sports. I think Sky Sports is a YouTube channel that covers upcoming sporting events. I don't know. I'm not interested in sports. I've never had an interest in sports, so I don't know what to tell you. I know what they're saying. More socks. Oh, the laundry. Oh, he leaves his socks laying around. Oh, it's so stupid. It's so lame. It's so annoying. Well, get with a man who doesn't do that, or be like, look, I need you to pick these up. This is you. This is your responsibility. Take care of it. Be an adult. And if he's not willing to do that, then yeah, leave. And then there are Gen Z women currently aged between 12 and 27 who are distinctly less enthusiastic than Gen Z men about having children someday. Are you sure about that? I mean, I'm not saying that she's wrong, but where's your evidence? Where's your proof? What's going on here? Who can blame them? You don't have to have children yourself to know that even now there's only one person whose life changes radically, and it's rarely the man's. Well, that's always been the case because of biology, stupid. What the hell? The notion that you are going to have your life change but the man isn't is nothing new. You have the bigger burden. This is why you're the more selective of the two genders. It's always been that way. I don't know how you're going to make that different. Figure out a different way of having children. But it's not just about labor, be it emotional or domestic, and who ends up taking it on. It's about who gets prioritized and whose hopes and dreams get collectively and individually shunted aside. Yeah. Are you giving him the bedroom action as often as he wants it? I'm guessing you're not. I'm thinking that you're just not, because most women don't. So whose dreams are, again, that are getting pushed to the side? You could make this place beautiful by poet Maggie Smith, 47, is a gorgeous book and one of a slew of recent American divorce memoirs by women in their 40s that have made an impression on the bestseller list. Well, there's part of your problem right there. Others include Liz Lenz, This American Ex-Wife, and Leslie Jameson Splinters. Smith met her ex when they were both studying creative writing. Marriage and children saw her put aside her dream to support his. He went to law school. She became more wife and mother. Yeah, and that should be your goal, ladies. Your goal should be to be wife and mother. Well, you think that he wants to go and be a lawyer and work 12-hour days to support you and the kids? Do you think that's what he dreams about? Do you think that's like I became an animator. Why did I decide I want to be in animation? I enjoy it, yes. But it's to get girls. That was the reason why I needed to earn a living, because no woman is going to want to be with some dusty, right? That's what they're called these days. Even though women have every right to go out and make as much money as they want to, men still have to earn their own way, or women aren't going to be interested in them. I know there are exceptions, but that's the general rule. She continued to write in a freelance capacity until one day she wrote a poem called Good Bones that went viral and projected her career into the fast lane. It could no longer take a back seat. As Smith says on the inconvenience of her ex, of being obliged to travel for work, I didn't feel missed as a person. I felt missed as staff. Okay, that's not cool. Now, I mean, maybe that's her. Maybe that's her going, yeah, I don't feel like you actually miss me, but yeah, I would be like, no, I think you're a wonderful human being and I want you in my life. And I miss you when you're gone because I miss you. That's how I am, though, because I'm that helpless romantic type of person. So ultimately, inevitably, they divorced and Smith was saved at the last moment from sacrificing herself and her dreams altogether. And this is why her memoir and the other women's stories of divorce and reemergence are resonating so loudly right now, because a zillion other women are looking up and thinking, hang on, me too. And this, I think, is why there seems to be a divorce separation epidemic among my heterosexual friends. They're done being the one who makes all the effort, who remembers all the birthdays, who works out what to have for tea. Okay, don't even get started on any of this stuff, because I decide what we eat. Of course, I have a restricted diet. And I'm the one who's like, hey, you need to step up in the birthday department here. You need to step up in the gift giving department here, because you're not treating me like I am a human being. I'm the guy who's doing that stuff. So it goes both ways. They're done shelving their aspirations and prioritizing other people's dreams. If they're lucky, they have 30 to 40 years ahead of them. This is their time. Yeah, so it's not going to be their time. They're going to be alone. She said there were some of these women in their late 50s. Who, please tell me, what man they are going to want, who's also going to want them? Please explain this to me. I see this happen. These women who are out there slaying the dragon, and they end up slaying it so well that they're making so much bank that they got everything taken care of. And they're like, I want a man on my level. When you're 50, or one that's higher than me. When you're 50, look, you slayed the dragon. You did a good job of it. That dragon is well and truly dead. You got everything you're going to need for the rest of your life. That man who's 55, who's done the same thing, is looking at that girl over there who's 25, and she's winking at him and smiling. Or the girl over there who's 35 and doing the same thing. Or the girl over there who's 45. Because the 55-year-old man doesn't want to be with a 50-year-old woman. A 50-year-old man does not want to be with a 50-year-old woman. A 60-year-old man does not want to be with a 50-year-old woman. Men do not want to be with women in their 50s and their 60s and their 70s. They don't. It can happen, yes. But you got to be realistic about it, ladies. You got to be very realistic about it. And if you're going on book tours and stuff, because you're selling out your book every 6 months or whatever, odds are you're looking for a man who's doing something similar, and he's got enough options, younger, prettier options, that he doesn't want to waste his time on you. There's a lot of lonely people out there. There's a lot of lonely people out there. And don't think just because you got attention when you were in your 20s and 30s that you're going to be getting that when you're in your 50s. It works the same way for men. I don't get looked at like I used to in my 20s. Believe me. If I knew how to talk to girls when I was in my 20s, I would probably have fathered several children by now. Probably a good thing I didn't know how to talk to girls in my 20s, because they were throwing themselves at me. Okay? It works the same way for men is what I'm saying. It works the same way for everybody. As you get older, you get less attractive. Fewer people are interested in dating you. That's how it goes. It's not as bad for men? No. But it is bad for men. And there are girls at the gym that I see, you're attractive. You are very attractive. But she's like 50. I'm like, you're single because you're 50. It's not because you're not attractive. So don't listen to this person. This shift with Sam Baker. Ladies, don't be going out and getting divorced. Try to fix your marriage. If you're already in your 40s or 50s, try to fix that, because you really want to have somebody lying next to you in bed at night when you wake up in the morning, etc. Life is pretty lonely. Men deal with it. Men have dealt with it for generations now, being alone. It's how it is. You don't have to, though, as a woman. All right, that's all I got for this time. Get rid of the wokeness, and you won't have these problems. I'll see you in the next video.